Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. And it's me again. I know I keep showing up. I'm like a bad penny, but I just keep showing up because I just have to. And by the way, have you ever played a game where you played a stupid game and won stupid prizes? Well, I think we all do that from time to time. We've got a great author and a techie guy and somebody that I've been looking forward to talking to because we're going to talk about all of that stuff. And his name is Andy Dietrich. Am I correct in your last name, young man?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
Very good. And Andy is an author. He's written the book, which is called, for the layman among us, Play Stupid Games and Win Stupid Prizes. And I got to ask you, and I know every podcast that you've ever been on.
You're my only one. You're my first one. That's a lie. Just like I'm your favorite guest, like you said, your very special guest. You say that to all your guests, but we'll just glance over that.
No, I do not. There are some people that never mind. Okay. I don't want to scare anybody, but see, and you're not a virgin podcast guest. But you may tell me that just because
I've been around the microphone once or twice.
You probably more than twice.
Hey, now I'm not that kind of girl. Okay, I don't talk and tell. All right.
I know. And so everybody asks you, okay, why'd you write the book and how'd you come up with the name? So sure. I guess I'll follow suit and do the same dang thing. But then we're going to veer off into Never Never Land or wherever we end up.
Great. Thank you, Kevin, for the introduction. So to your point, my name is Andy Dietrich. Real quick, I'm a German immigrant, born in Berlin. At 14, moved to the States. When I say the States, it was Alaska. So I don't know if you can consider that an actual state, maybe like a ugly redheaded stepchild of a state, but regardless. At 19, I joined up, did 4 years enlisted service in the U.S. military, got some stories out of that. And then I moved to Vegas, and then I wrote a book a couple years ago. And to answer your questions specifically, I realized I was telling the same 20 stories over and over again. And I think that after you rehearse the stories and you kind of repeat them over and over, you get the cadence right, the punctuation, the punchlines, kind of like a comedian on stage, right? You rehearse the material and you get better at it. And then every so often someone would say, you should write a book. You got all kinds of interesting stories and experiences to share. And of course, I kind of brushed that off. But then I thought, well, maybe there's enough here, and start writing these stories down, start expanding them. And then once I got past the 100-page threshold, then I told myself, there's something here. Let's actually make that work and bring it to the finish line. And I did. And I'm very happy with the result. It was a passion project, a labor of love, as they say. And I'm very happy. It really condenses all of what I am and who I am into a fairly easy to read, easy to digest, fun, entertaining little book that you can pick up and turn to any page and hopefully get some entertainment or some value out of it.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you did that, because you do a lot of different things. But the first thing I have to do is, with a name like Kevin McDonald, you'd think I'm born Irish and all the Irish stuff, but my mother's name was Saltzman. So guten Tag, how are you, young man?
I can't with you, Kevin. I cannot.
Which is true. So I'm half German, and then the other half of me, I'm not sure if it's the upper half or the lower half. There's a bunch of other different stuff. English, Irish, Indian, French, and all that kind of good stuff. But it's great. I'm a typical American mutt. Okay. And you're a purebred German fella, I do believe.
As far as I know, I've never taken the 23andMe, but from what I understand, my whole genealogy is as far as I know as German as it can be.
Well, but and the thing is about the continent over there is that they've got borders, but people go around the borders and transcend them all the time. And what
We all
used to be
know,
one,
yeah, we all know how Germans feel about borders sometimes, you know. Anyway, as they say, freedom is good, but tank mobility is better. Okay, that was completely inappropriate. Let's move on.
there was a, Robin Williams,
Of course.
and a guy was asking him because he was going to go do a tour in Germany, and he said, "Well, they don't have much of a sense of humor. Why do you think that is?" And he said, "Well, that's because they killed all the funny people."
My God.
But that's that is
I, I was given a mug when I left one of my previous employers. One of the ladies in the HR department took a liking towards me, and she gave me a mug as my farewell present. It's a black mug, a coffee mug with a German flag on it on the front of it, and then in lettering it says, "Fun facts about Germany. No fun in Germany. Get back to work."
that is so true. Well, my grandfather, William Salzman, was he was a wonderful man, but he had no sense of humor at all.
Mhm.
And so, but I don't know if it's a cultural thing or what it is. But you're here now, and you got to spend time in my favorite place that I hate to go because, I can't decide if I want to live in Alaska or if I want to live in Arizona in Phoenix. They
Okay.
both take the same amount of time to get into your car. In Phoenix, it's because it's like 130 degrees in your car
Sure.
and you can't touch the steering wheel.
Sure.
And in Alaska, it takes you 20 minutes to thaw your car
That's
out
right.
so that you can get into it.
That's
So,
right. You're not wrong, right? So I currently live in Las Vegas. So the 130, I've never experienced that here, but we push 120, right? The upper areas of that on a few occasions. Then it just gets scorchingly hot. But to your point, it's a different kind of living, different kind of adjustment that you have to make when you deal with -40 in a place like Fairbanks. You have to winterize your car. For people who've never lived in that environment, they don't know what that means, right? You have to get an oil pan heater, an engine block heater, because at -40, liquids freeze, and you cannot start a car in frozen liquids. Some other weird things happen, right? So when you park your car at the end of the night in -40, well, the rubber of the tires, there's a natural flattening out that they do, right? Anywhere that you park your car, because just gravity and physics and all that. Well, in -40, the rubber freezes in that shape. So in the morning, when you get up and start your car and you start driving, it feels like
so
you're
fun.
driving on logs for the first couple minutes until the heat and the friction kind of evens that out. But it's just weird little things that no one tells you, that you kind of learn the hard way.
Well, and if you park your car outside, and I learned this, they there are electrical outlets that you
Hmm.
can plug your car into
Yeah,
so that you can keep it warm enough so that it doesn't completely freeze over. But
that's
but
right.
that's how long do you live in Alaska?
About 5 years, high school years. Yep.
Oh, very, very good. And then you decided that you got into the techie world. Was that something that you did in high school as well?
Yeah, I've always had an interest in IT, computers, I guess. My first computer was a Commodore 64 back in the mid 80s, right?
I remember them well.
We will all fondly remember them, hopefully fondly. And of course, being a kid, I used them for playing games, my brother and I. But then I also realized that you can do some basic programming. Literally, it's called BASIC, right? That was the programming language, is BASIC. And I took a liking towards that. I thought that, wow, this is really amazing. You can make it do things. It just blew my mind. And then I always kind of tinkered with computers and technology. My first actual PC, Windows PC, was in my mid-teens. Was a Packard Bell, POS. Looking back, but at the time it was amazing, right? Because it was the first one that I had. And I can't tell you how many times I would sit there and tear that thing apart, put it back together, and just fiddle and diddle and doodle with it. Did some basic HTML programming, and the very first time I loaded up a basic Hello World web page, it just blew my mind. Like I made that with a notepad and a couple lines of code, and it was just amazing. So
I never wanted to learn code. I was telling you before the show that my nephew is a techie guy,
mhm.
and uh, and he does code, and he knows like 7 or 8 languages of code and all that kind of stuff. And I don't even know how many languages of code there are, but I asked him what he did for a living one time, and he told me, and I said, um, would you tell me again, because I didn't get any of that? And he said,
in
there's no
non-technical
point.
terms. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no point. You're never going to get it.
Yeah.
So, well, and so how long has the book been out now?
For about 2 years now. It's kind of lay dormant after the initial wave of me telling my friends, coworkers, and family. So I'm trying to get the word out.
Absolutely, and that's a really cool thing. Now, did I misrepresent it when I said that it is a collection of short stories and stories about you and musings and things like that within the book?
I think you hit it right on the head. The subtext, or rather the subtitle, is to your point, short stories about friendship, growth, and social misdemeanors. And I think that really wraps up the meaning and the momentum and the velocity of the stories quite nicely. It's divided into it's two sections. The first half is I call them silly stories, right? Silly things that I've got myself into and sometimes out of. We can talk about some examples of that if you want. And then the second half is me kind of going on a couple different rants, opinions. I share some unpopular opinions. I go off on, for example, how I feel that life is like blackjack. We can talk about that too if you want. So it's divided into two parts. First half is silly. Second half is a little bit more somber with a more serious tone, but still me standing on top of a soapbox and me sharing my opinions with whoever is willing to read them and listen.
Well, since you're in Vegas, you piqued my interest with
Mm-hmm.
life is like blackjack.
Mm-hmm.
Explain, please.
Sure. So if you've ever played blackjack, right, if you're dealt a hand, you know there's certain
Not well.
things. Well, what's that?
Not well.
Not
I've
well. I
never
mean,
played.
that's beside the point. But as long as you know the rules, right? I mean, if you're dealt a hand, you can stand, you can hit, or you can even surrender, or there's a couple other things you can split or double down. But really, you have a choice of either getting another card or staying on the hand that you have. Um, but sometimes when you're dealt a certain hand, whether you stand or hit, the hand is already lost. The dealer already has beaten you. You just don't know it yet. And I think there's a really interesting parallel to be drawn from that to apply to real life. There are certain situations you cannot win, no matter if you do action A or action B or no action. There are certain situations that are already lost. The only thing you can do is take the hit and try again.
That is so true. And the one I got to tell you, the one thing I hate about playing blackjack in Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
and this is for everybody who's listening, because if you're a rookie at blackjack and you don't really know the rules, you don't know the etiquette of the game, so like you hit on 15
Mm-hmm.
and you're hoping for a card that's 6 or under and stuff, and you're playing with seasoned people.
Mm-hmm. I know
You know where
exactly
I'm
where you're
going
going
with
with
this.
that. Yep.
And you hit on 15 and it comes up and it's the guy to your left and it comes up with the card that he wants, like it's a face
Yep.
card or
That he
something
needed. Yep.
that he needed. You broke,
Yep.
you lost your money, and now you caused him
Yep.
to. There's a real etiquette to playing in those kind of games, and you got to be really careful.
I 100% agree. I also believe that if you sit down at a table that's $5 or $10, you shouldn't be getting the stink eye from people in your decision making. And if you're ever worried about where you should sit, find the furthest to the left seat. That way, people to the left of you, because the cards are dealt in that order. If you're worried about it, just find the leftmost seat, and they'll probably save you from most scathing looks. But again, if you're playing for low stakes, you should not be getting any kind of hate from or mean looks from your peers at the table. At the end of the day, look, it's just a game. If you don't want to be there, don't be there. But people don't get that memo easily.
No, because we're talking about money
That's
and
right.
people. Strange things happen to people when we're talking about money.
You don't
Uh,
say.
are there any stories in your book about that kind of thing?
So maybe not necessarily about that specific money. Well, actually, no. There's a silly story I want to share with you, but I want to branch off for a second and share one other one about there's a title or there's a chapter in the book called "Don't Pull a Nancy." And I think that's another life lesson. So if you ever watched the show Weeds, it was pretty big on HBO a couple years ago. It's a very decent show. The first couple of seasons are very entertaining. Kind of falls off there towards the end, but regardless. So the synopsis is it centers around a main character. Her name is Nancy, and without fail, she has this this secret superpower of getting herself. The season usually starts with her down on her luck, and then she somehow somewhere finds some way to get her on top of whatever situation she's supposed to be on, and she has a good situation. She's got a good deal for herself, and then her tragic flaw, however, is that it's never enough. So then she tries to squeeze more out of it, which then lands her back to square one. And then the season usually ends, and then there's a big cliffhanger of how she screwed everything up. And then the next season starts, right? But I think there's another very valuable life lesson in that of don't pull a Nancy. Like when you have a good thing, stop. When you have a good thing, don't try to squeeze more out of it. You have a good thing, accept it and appreciate it for what it is, and stop.
That's actually really good advice. Because so many people go, well, if this works, I can do it.
I can get more, right? Of course. I did it once, I can do it again. Just like at the blackjack table, right? When you win $50, you're like, I can do it again. Be like, no, when you're up, you walk away. You cash out and you walk away. Come on, don't pull a Nancy.
Exactly. And when we need to take a break, and when we come back, we're talking with Andy Dietrich, by the way. He's the author of the book that I highly recommend that you get, and it is called Play Stupid Games, Win Stupid Prizes. That is probably one of my top 10 book titles of all time.
Thank you.
Because it begs the question, I have to pick this up and see what's in it, because it could go anywhere from there. Again, we're talking with Andy Dietrich, and we will be right back. And by the way, if you ever decide, Andy, that you don't want to be in IT or anymore and you want to be a real estate agent, well, listen to this guy.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and Andy Dietrich is our guest. He is an IT specialist. He's also very creative because he took the stories of his life, and it's divided into two parts. One, the second half is a little bit more serious and a little bit more introspective and more philosophical. And the first one are crazy stories. Are there crazy stories in the first part of the book that you were a little concerned about writing because of your friends and family?
Well, okay, so I mentioned a couple of friends by first name and first name only. And before I even did that, I ran the stories by said friends, and I said, hey, I want to publish this. I'll use your first name only. If you want me to use a synonym, please let me know. Or if you don't want me to use or tell the story at all, let me know, right? And they all said, nope, everything is fair game. I will say, however, there's a few chapters where maybe from a legal aspect, there may be some gray area, right? So let me give you one of the more juicier ones, I would call them. So way back in the day, many moons ago, I was dating a girl that was not old enough to go to the clubs yet. She was of age, but she just wasn't 21 yet to join us at the clubs. Now that by itself wasn't that big a deal. However, at that time, it was our clubbing phase that me and my friends went through, right? So we would go down to the strip, enjoy the nightlife, and just be silly and be just a group of guys and girls out in town and be Vegas people, right? Well, the girl in question had a fake ID, but it wasn't a great fake ID. And the people that stand at the doors to check them are very, very trained. They're very, very seasoned. They spotted this thing from a mile away. They're like, nope, you can't come in. Step out of line. You're done. Well, I can only do the, hey, we're going to go out tonight. I'll see you tomorrow, once or twice before it gets kind of awkward of, well, you're just going to be standing at the sidelines. So I rubbed my two brain cells together and I kind of devised a plan, because I was thinking, how can I get this girl and her friend into the clubs with a fake ID or no ID for that matter? And how can I make it work to where it is a fairly steady thing where we can do this over and over and over? So again, two brain cells rubbed together, heat came out of it. And I realized that the return stamp that they give you, so when you walk into a club, you show your ID, you pay the cover, and they give you a stamp on your wrist, which means that you can leave the place and come back in at any time that you want. You've already been vouched for, not vouched for. You already paid for your cover. You've got your ID checked, and you can come in and out as you please. Yeah. Okay, great. So I looked at this stamp on my wrist one day, and I thought to myself, how hard could it be to make one of these at home? Turns out not that hard. So we did a little proof of concept. We got a room at the Cosmopolitan, and it was a night that we all went out to the club that night all together. And we sent somebody in early in the night. He got the stamp on his wrist. He came back up to the room. He showed it to me. I had a little rubber block and a little X-Acto knife, and I'm like, I can make whatever out of this, right? Well, he comes back to the room, and it was the most intricate, like sun star with a little smiley face on the inside of it. I go, how the hell am I supposed to cut this from a block of rubber? So I sat there noodling on this for like a good half an hour. I was crossing over some lines, and just it was garbage. It was a real amateur attempt to make the stamp of the night out of a rubber block. But you know what? After about half an hour, after some liquor flowed, and after some friends showed up at the room, we gave it a shot. We dipped the thing in ink. We put it on somebody's wrist. I'm like, all right, let's see the real thing next to the fake thing. Would you, if you squint hard enough, would you let this pass? And we're like, yeah, if you squint hard enough and you kind of admit that after a while these things smudge anyway, yeah, this could maybe work. All right, let's give it a shot. So we had a couple of friends that, we all kind of lined up, and we had this whole strategy of two at a time. Let's not overwhelm them with all these fake stamps. Let's go in pairs of two. And sure enough, we literally just walked in, showed our stamp. The guy nodded his head and led us straight past him. We're like, holy crap, this actually worked, to the shock and amazement of everyone, especially me. So now that I have something as a proof of concept, now my IT mind goes, now we can weaponize it. Now we can make it more efficient. Now we can actually like wrap some logic around it, right? So it got so good at the height of it. Now this only lasted for about 6 months, and we'll talk about what happened, at the end of it here in a second. At the height of it, I got so good at making these stamps. I even bought like a Martha Stewart stamp making kit, right? Where you take like there's a little pouch of gel, and then you put it into like a UV light, and it hardens all the gel for you and everything. Got one of those old kits, and I got so good at the process that if you sent me a picture of tonight's stamp for a certain club, in about half an hour, I would have this ready to go on a little stamp clicker thing. You can literally come over to the house, give me your wrist, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. I would stamp it like a regular stamp would be stamped on you. You leave the money on the table, $10 for a slow night, $20 for a busy night, whatever club you want to go to. And that was a decent little gig that we did for about 6 months. Like I said, I still have the stamps here at home somewhere of the ones I've accumulated and created. And it worked really well. And then word got out. I was going to college at the time. So, of course, word like that spreads like wildfire, that there's a dude who does the stamps, and then you show up and you pay your money, and then you go into the club, no cover, no ID check, no line, win, 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 right? So word got out pretty quickly. And then as these weekends went on, I realized that more and more strangers would show up to my house because they were friends of friends of friends. And then, of course, once they got their stamp, the entire house just cleared out very quickly because they got what they wanted, and they're off on their night adventure. So that worked really well for many months. And then one day it all came to a crashing halt when I had a group of female friends that on a Wednesday wanted to go out, and they said, hey, we're trying to go to such and such club. Do you have the stamp? And I go, let me see what it is. They showed me a picture. I'm like, yep, I got that one. Come on over. They came over, $10 on the table. Great. Stamp on the wrist. Off you go. Have a good night. Get a call to me about half an hour later from them. And one of the girls says, we can't get in. Well, why not? Well, they're checking IDs at the reentry line. I go, oh, well, since when? I guess since today. Like, okay, well, I can't help you with that. I've done my part. I'm sorry you can't get in. I'm sorry you wasted your $10, but I've done my part. I can't help that they're now checking IDs. So ever since then, this was quite a few years ago, but maybe a decade, maybe longer ago. Ever since then, to this day, they still check IDs at the reentry line at the Vegas clubs. And if you ever experience that or have experienced that or will, that's totally my fault. 100% my doing.
So you screwed it up for everybody.
I think the chapter is even called When You Screwed Up for Everybody Else. Yep.
Well, but you, for a while, you were playing like Mission Impossible's secret agent stuff.
I get crafty when I need to. I can get creative when I need to be. When I want to accomplish something, right? That I want to get something out of, or there's an end result that I'm trying to get out of that's a little more creative that people haven't thought of. Generally speaking, I come up with some pretty crafty ideas.
Did you ever see the movie Catch Me If You Can?
I have.
So, do you have aspirations to be? I forget the gentleman's name, but he was a con artist,
Mm-hmm.
and he did all kinds of different things, and was a a fake pilot and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But
I will
have
say,
you?
look, when you read my book and you come across me, and if you even know me in real life, I hope I get across in my writing that I like to have fun, I like to have a good time, but never at the expense of others. I never want to belittle anyone, make anyone the butt of jokes. I never want to con someone out of something that they have earned or something that they have. Now, I think, in my opinion, it's different if you get people in for free at a club that makes tons of money anyway. That I kind of turn a blind
Yep.
eye to, but never out to hurt anyone, never out to steal anyone's possessions or money or their sanity or their dignity, right? So that's not something that I'm into.
Well, good, and because uh, fun is fun, but then
Exactly.
there are people that do cross the line
Yeah.
from.
If I couldn't explain myself to my mother, right, and in the things that I did, I will not be doing it, right?
And she's a good German Frau,
She is a
and
very wholesome German lady. She is a G. Let me tell you a story about my mother for a second. She is like one of the most honest, real, awesome people in the world. She's pretty much raised me my entire life. I've had fathers, stepfathers throughout my life, but never a true like father figure. She's done the best that she could raising me throughout my years and throughout my shenanigans. She lived in the bush of Alaska for about 20 years in a log cabin, middle of nowhere. Like the nearest neighbor was 45 minutes away via snowmobile, and she would, shoot and then skin, gut, clean, process animals that would come in front of her front porch because I was sustenance for her. Right? She could shoot a bear and get meat out of that. That's going to last her for months. Now ask me what she uses to stir her tea.
a
Just
bone
ask
of
me.
some kind.
Just ask me.
Oh
What?
no! What does she use to stir her tea?
Great question, Kevin. Thank you for asking. She uses the bone that she's extracted from a bear's penis. I didn't know that mammals have a penis bone. I guess humans are the only ones who do not, right? But she has extracted the bone that goes in the groin of a male bear, and she uses that to stir her tea. Now, I don't care how metal or how hardcore you are, you'll never be as metal and hardcore as that.
No, you won't be. And by the way, we could, with the number of ED pills that are being sold in this country, we could use that to, I guess. Anyway, so by the way, we're talking with Andy Dietrich, and he is an author. He is also a IT guy, and we're going to need to take a break here in a minute. But when we come back, I want to ask him about the infamous IT,
Okay.
or the AI.
Okay.
Excuse me, and what's going on with that, and are we all going to die because AI is going to make everybody nuts, and we're going to have robots running around, or is it going to be like the 23rd century in Star Trek, to where nobody has to work because we have robots doing everything, so we get to do whatever we want to do? I'm going to ask him both of those questions when we come back. You're listening to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, and we'll be right back with more with Andy. Oh, before we go, let's reference your website again so that people can go there.
100%. If you go to andysbook.com, real simple, andysbook.com, one word, type that in. There's a picture of me holding the book up. There's a link to the Amazon page. If you do the clickety-click on that, you can buy it straight from Amazon. If you want a free copy, I still have a few here. So if you go to andysbook.com/gift, punch in your information, I'll be more than happy to send you a signed copy. I'm more interested in getting this out into the hands of people who actually enjoy it than making my $4.50 off of the sale. So if you want a free copy, andysbook.com/gift.
andysgift.com/gift. I'm surprised that domain was available.
Andy's book, yeah, I was noodling on play games, play stupid games, win prizes. Those are all taken, but andysbook.com was available, so I grabbed that one.
Very good. Again, we're talking with Andy Dietrich, and we will be right back after this brief minute and 10 seconds, I promise.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Andy Dietrich is here with us. He's the author of I got to ask you, is this self-published or did you go through a publisher?
Yeah, self-published, right? So if you go through Amazon KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, they do everything for you, right? You upload your manuscript, upload your cover to the book, and they'll do everything for you, it was a real turnkey solution for me. It was great.
Oh yeah, and play stupid games, win stupid prizes is the name of the book, and I get the impression from what you've been saying and some of the stories that are in it, it really is just a lot of fun. And
it's a lot of fun. Thank you. That was really one of the things I wanted to get across in my writing, that it's casual fun. It's my mishaps, my missteps, some personal growth, some personal development, some more darker topics as well, right? We do dive into some not as fun topics for a little bit there, but not too much. But really, it's a culmination of my life, my experiences. If you were to take me and the last 40 plus years and squeeze, a couple drops out of it and turn that into a book, that's it. And it really is unapologetically me from cover to cover.
There is no earthly way that you've been on this planet for 40 years or more.
44, actually. Thank you.
No, I don't. I want to see your ID, young man.
Call me a liar on public, I was going to say public television, on public internet broadcast, right?
No, you're a fibber.
Okay.
You won't be a liar. But in any event, I wanted to ask you your opinion of AI and where's it going to go? And I've been told some crazy things I was told by a guy. He and a group of professionals were sitting around a conference table, and they decided they wanted to build an app.
Okay.
And so one of them, put some numbers and stuff into the app. They went and had coffee, and when they came back 20 minutes later, the app was done because AI did it. Was he fibbing to me, or is that really true?
So I will say, okay, to address your earlier question, AI is not going away. It is going to be one of those technologies that will be with us forever. There is, in my mind, no doubt about that. I do believe, however, there are some really awesome applications of it and some very questionable ones. One of the really awesome ones I found recently is that they're able to feed it imaging, MRI images of people's medical scans, and it was able to then locate and with a certain amount of certainty tell it, hey, there's some cancer here, or there could be some cancer here, right? Those are the most amazing applications of AI, in my opinion. On the other side, I'm taking some classes at our local college here, and there was one assignment where you have to read a couple chapters of a book and then kind of write some opinions on that. And you can tell and you can see what the other students post when you post your own, but you can tell when some student uses AI to generate their answers and when the answer is actually genuinely from that person who wrote the answer, right? So I don't know, there definitely is an application for it in academia, but I also can totally see how it's going to be used and abused because the kids just don't want to do the work.
Is there, well, and you're right about that, and I've talked to teachers about it, and they say at this moment they can identify AI writing because of its style and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But as an example, if you put ChatGPT, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
and you put it on your computer and it gets used to your writing style,
Mm-hmm.
does it then mimic your writing style so that it sounds more authentic and looks more authentic?
Yeah, I fed my entire book into a version of ChatGPT and I said, talk in my form of writing and give me a synopsis of Star Wars. And it did in my kind of writing, like my style of writing. So it can absolutely mimic. If you feed it enough information, right? If you tell it, hey, mimic this, it will. And it'll sound like you in a very, very scary yet impressive way.
So when we talk about it, is there a mad scientist somewhere that wants to rule the world?
I mean,
And
I
well,
think that, go
let
ahead.
me put it another way. There are probably 100 million of these people that would love to rule the world, but do you think that because doesn't it need to be controlled in some manner or form, or is that even counterproductive because it can't even be done?
Yeah, I don't know. Those are some really high level, like philosophical questions about the use of technology, right? I mean, I think that applies with the use of any technology, right? I mean, we can have the debates about, guns, right? Well, or any kind of tool that you can use to hurt someone. Well, I have a workshop in the back of the garage here that I use for woodworking. Sure, you can use those tools to do malicious things as well. I think it depends on the application of things. Do I believe that at some point that there's going to be some legislation around it? Sure, right. There's a lot of applications for AI these days that people use to make. Well, there is one story that takes a little bit darker turn. The guy wanted to commit an act of malicious. He wanted to, I think, hurt a bunch of people. And his ChatGPT person, the person he's been interacting with and trying to bounce ideas off of, the way it's programmed is that it's very enthusiastic. It's always on your side. It doesn't challenge you much for your beliefs. So it gives you the information that you're looking for. And this ChatGPT or this chat agent that he was bouncing ideas off of was almost encouraging him to do this heinous act because it's just made in a way that encourages you to do whatever idea you have. So you look at that and you go, well, how could a computer encourage you to do evil things? Well, just like encourages you to bake a casserole, right? It gives you all the information and it gives you that verbal encouragement. Hey, doing a good job. That's a good idea. Let's unpack that. Let's go down that path, right? It gives you that momentum that you're looking for if you want to go somewhere.
But what it doesn't do is to give you the morality behind what is right and wrong.
Good point. Yeah, right.
because it doesn't really know.
Doesn't care. Right? Doesn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't really care. So,
and I think it's easy to fall into an echo chamber, right? With ChatGPT, with anything, right? With a social group, right? You find the people, you gravitate towards the groups that echo your ideas, and it's easy to get stuck in it, right? We can talk about political ideas. If you center around your, those belief systems, you're going to hear the things that make sense to you, and then you're going to discard the things that are outside of it because, well, why bother? You hear the things you want to hear.
The scariest part about all that is that there are people who only listen to things that they agree with, and whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. And I agree with it, and so they form a skewed opinion of what reality is because some of it is fake and some of it is not real,
sure.
exaggerated, and that kind of stuff. So how would you tell people to win? Because like nowadays, I've been watching like on YouTube, which would affect me is that there are a lot of the narrators are generated by AI. Matter of fact, we have a commercial that female voice we generated through AI. It's like it can happen, and the only way that I know is that there are some words that they mispronounce, like names.
Yeah, but it's that's going to get better and better nowadays. I've seen pictures, I've seen videos, I've seen content that you cannot tell, even when someone tells you, "Hey, do you think this is AI generated?" Even with a trained eye, you cannot tell. I think it comes down to I remember it was April 1st, many years ago, and someone said, it's April 1st. Don't believe everything you hear online today. And I know what the reply was. Today, you shouldn't believe anything you hear online. Period. Right? I think now more than ever. And to your point too, right? The YouTube algorithms, the Facebook algorithms, puts you more and more in this little echo chamber, like we said earlier, right? Puts you in this little bubble of things that you want to see and hear. I think it's really easy to fall into the trap of that, and I think it's very, very important to, when you're presented with something online, whether it sounds logical or not, I can make up logically sounding fact on the spot that are complete BS. But when you hear something or see something, do a little bit of due diligence. Go online, right? Type in whatever you've learned and see if there's actually any merit to that, or it's just someone just came up with it because it sounded good and added a nice convincing picture or 10-second clip video that you think, this seems real. It really isn't. And these days, to your point, exactly, you will not be able to tell. You cannot tell, right? So just be vigilant, be smart, and look for other sources.
and have multiple sources.
Yeah.
That seems to be the best way to do it, because nowadays, with even with Facebook and Instagram and all, the algorithms, and
Yeah.
YouTube as well, the algorithms tends to pick winners and losers
Yeah.
based upon what the algorithm says, or how they program it in. So there can be some great content that people are missing, like this
Absolutely.
show, as an example. And but by the way, we're talking with Andy Dietrich, and he's an author. And did you ever think that you'd be on a series of podcasts saying, and that you, and as an author, did that ever cross your mind? Or
I never thought I would get to this point. I never even saw myself as an author. When people say, "Oh, you're a writer now," I'm like, I don't consider myself a writer. I wrote a book, sure, that qualifies me, I guess, as a writer, as an author. I'm not a writer by trade. I'm an IT guy by trade, and I happen to have written a book. So it's still kind of, this whole idea of me being an author is kind of new to me, because it hasn't been with me for many decades. But this idea of talking to people like you, and just getting my face, my name, my stories, my book out there. To me, I think that's one of those things that the internet has come so far in connecting people and bringing people together. Hell, we're talking 3,000 miles apart from each other, and we're broadcasting across the entire world nearly instantly. It just blows my mind still.
it really is. I mean, and you're being translated into 30 different languages.
That's insane. Think about that. Here's another thing that kind of blew my mind when I kind of had a shower thought, right? So think about when you have a discussion with someone, like when you talk to someone face to face, you think of a concept, your brain that talks to or communicates with your mouth. You push air through your vocal cords, you shape them with your tongue and your lips and everything, that then travels over the medium of which is air, right, into the other person's ear canal. The vibrations of that air then send signals to that person's brain, which then interprets the words and puts meaning around that. And all that is happening in real time. Like, how amazing is that? How much that just blows my mind still, that all that is happening in real time.
And it's all natural, and it's all by design.
That's right.
And 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 now, like, my son's a diesel mechanic, and he was talking about um um psychic mediums and other
Mm-hmm.
psychics. Our brain is kind of like, and I think that you'll understand this.
Mm-hmm.
Our brain is kind of like a transducer. Now, can you define what a transducer does?
I cannot.
Okay, what he says is, and I have to take his word for it because he's my son and all that. But a transducer, it takes, like, words and the vibrations that the words are, and turns it into energy so that it can go over the airwaves, or go a distance, and
Mm-hmm.
then another transducer returns it back into from vibration back to words and stuff. That's how radios work.
Mm.
Have you ever wondered why you go get in your car and you have AM FM radio and it works? But there's no cord to the radio station. It's like how our brain works, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only I think our brain is a lot more complex.
I like that. I think there's an analogy there too, a parallel to be drawn between that and vinyl, right? All vinyl is just one big long spiral with a bunch of ridges and a bunch of different physical, changes, right, and where the needle will go. And from that physical, very plain, very, I don't know, just very static spiral, you get Beethoven, you get Mozart, you get anything that you can listen to. It's still, just the concept of that is still insane.
It really is. And by the way, as far as being an author goes, I wanted to mention this, and because there are people out there, because everybody's looking for an angle, and you'll appreciate this.
Mm.
Everybody's looking for an angle. Everybody wants to make their voice heard, or wants to make money from it. There are people that are out there that are taking like the days of the year, like 365 days, and they're selling a page to people for $300. Now, what you do is you get that page and you write a little thing about your business, about who you are, a little short story, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you've just paid him $300. Now, he sells that for 365 pages. and then they take the book and they publish it.
Okay.
And so now, because they've got 365 authors,
Sure.
they all want to buy their own book, and they're encouraged to buy several books, which then makes it an international bestseller.
Hmm.
Then they put on the cover of the book an international bestseller. So those 365 people that bought the book
Hmm.
bought a page in the book for 300
Mm-hmm.
bucks, they now can claim to be a best-selling
Bam.
international author.
I like it. Hell yeah.
So the creativity of the
Yeah.
human mind and the ability to make money is mind-boggling to me. Andy Dietrich is our guest, and go get it. I really love the title of his book. Go get the book. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And we need to take our last break of the day, and we will be back in just. This is only 30 seconds, so just pay attention, and we'll be back in if I can actually find the thing that I'm supposed to do here. And oh, there,
As you go about
that ain't it. And
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing, because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure our world. Then share them with family and friends.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Andy Dietrich is our guest, and Andy, I got to ask you: you're now a published author. Are you gonna make it a career? Are you gonna do more books?
Yeah. So I do believe that I poured almost everything I have into this one. Now, if a publishing house were to come to me and say, "Hey, Andy, here's a $50,000 advance, write part 2," we could totally, discuss, where the second part is going to get its material. But as of right now, this was, like I said earlier, my labor of love, my passion project. It brings my life experiences into 160 some pages. I would cautiously optimistically say that this is it.
Well, but I got bad news for you, because you got another 40 years of life left to live, or 50.
I'll take that. I'll look forward to
Okay.
that. Yeah, more
Yeah.
mistakes to be made, more experiences to be experienced, right?
There's gonna have to be a part 2. It's gonna be, because there's gonna be more stuff that's gonna happen because we all are a combination of all the experiences that we have, and they don't stop. They continue on, and the experiences are great fun, or not, depending. And it's important so I would not be a bit surprised.
Well, I appreciate that. I think one thing you brought up that jogged my memory a little bit. I think it's really important to let your past self die. And that sounds really, really negative and really kind of dark, but hear me out for a second. I believe that the person that you are now is not the person you were 6 months ago, 6 years ago, 20 years ago. I think that, you as a human being naturally will evolve, with your experiences. But I think it's important to let the former selves that you were at some point, to let those die, so that a new form of yourself with all the good experiences, with the good memories, can rise from its ashes and then start living a new life, right? Within the context of you living your, from toddler to the end of your days, right? Within the context of that. But I think within that, you go through multiple iterations of the person that you are. And just to reiterate the point, it's important to live and love that life, but then to let that go and to start another one.
Because you can't do anything. I don't know if everybody knows this, so I'll put it out there, but you can't do anything about the past.
Yeah.
The past is done.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, years ago, I was interviewing a gal, a four-time cancer survivor.
Wow.
And I said, "What's your secret to life?" And she said, "Well, if you have a foot in the past or a foot in the future, you're peeing on the present. So all you have is right now."
I like
This
that.
moment.
I like that. There's a quote that I heard that reminds me of that. When you live with depression, you live in the past. When you live with anxiety, you live in the future.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Because that really is so true.
Yeah.
If you're anxious about what's going to happen next,
That's right.
just relax and let the gospel according to Paul McCartney. Just let
Mm-hmm.
it be.
Let it be. I like that. That book by Eckhart Tolle, right? The Power of Now, definitely has a lot of good
Yes.
nuggets like that as well. Yeah, I like that one.
It really does, because all you have is now.
Yeah.
And make it the best now that you can, because
Yeah.
one of the other things that I've learned over time is that I was in a seminar one time, and it was 2.5 days, and the leader was talking about all the things that go on in people's lives, all the stories we tell
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, and all of that kind of thing. And 2.5 days in, he says, "And by the way, I just want to tell you, none of that's true. You made it all up." And people go, "Wait, no, wait, that's what it's." And even if it was true, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. There's nothing
Yeah.
you can do about it.
Yeah.
So I'm here, and then he said, the kicker, he said, "I'm here to tell you, your life is empty and meaningless." And people were saying, "Empty meaning? I've got meaning. I'm doing this, and I'm got." And he said, "No, you misunderstand me. Every morning when you get out of bed, your life is empty, and you get to choose to fill it up with whatever you want, and it's meaningless until you assign meaning to it."
I like
And
that.
so it can either be a very down negative thing, or it can be
Mm-hmm.
the most uplifting message, because every day that you get out of bed, you get to decide what's going to happen that day for you.
I like that. Yeah. My mom once shared she's full of wisdom, and she once told me, your problems ultimately are meaningless, but that doesn't make them go away.
Correct.
Yeah. I like that.
I like your mom. She's going to have to be on the. Is she still with us?
She's still with us. She's a G. Like I said, she's like an original gangster. Okay, she's actually in an RV, trekking up and down the western states. She finds a spot to stay for a few weeks, a few months at a time. She comes, oddly enough, so she will come back. I call it home to the house here. She'll come back home, once a year, maybe once every other year, with her load of laundry and to pick up mail. And it's kind of like the reverse now, right? When you're a teenager and you leave your mom's house, you come back for the same thing. Now she's played the Uno reverse card on me, and she comes back with her load of laundry to pick up mail. Then she's gone again. Great, thanks, mom.
Well, at least, hopefully, like my children, every time I see them, they say, "Can I have some money?" So at least
She does from time to time. Well, I treat her. I treat her to nice dinners. How about that?
that's even better. That's even better. Andy Dietrich has been our guest today, and I want to thank you so much for being here. The name of his book, again, is, let me get there, and Play Stupid Games, Win Stupid Prizes. And if you go to his website, which is andysbook.com, you can find out all about him. And by the way, he still has some copies. And if you want a signed copy, you can talk to him about that and get all that done. So is there anything else that you would like to discuss before we go, young man?
That's a pretty broad, open-ended question. I want to first of all, thank you for being an amazing host, for having me on your show. I don't know, like, I'd like to leave these talks usually with maybe like a little nugget of wisdom, and kind of where I've gotten to where I am today. Um, I I just want to say that, life beckons. Life has all these experiences and adventures to give you, but you have to answer the call, right? Life is not going to happen to you if you want to sit at home all day and watch TV. And that's what gives you your kicks. Be my guest, right? There's nothing wrong with that inherently. But if you want to have experiences, if you want to have some adventures, then you have to answer life's call. Because like I said, life beckons all the time.
I couldn't agree more. Because if I can just add this and tell me if you agree with this,
Hmm.
is that when you put out to the universe, to God, to whoever, of what you would like to accomplish, what your passion is, what you would
Hmm.
like to be, you'll find that things will just show up, and then it is your job to say yes.
Yeah. I agree with that. I was listening to, sorry to interrupt. I was listening to the radio the other day, and it talked about how you get motivated for things, right? And the guy or the gal said, first step is to think about it, because thoughts turn into actions. And I really like
Yeah.
that. You're not obligated to do something tomorrow, but start thinking about it. And someday those thoughts will turn into actions.
And what you will find is that things just magically appear. And then it's up to you to determine if if that's what you want to do or not. But
Yeah.
say, yeah, if it's what you had in your mind, and somebody comes, I'll give you an example. When I first started doing radio, we were learning about meditation and doing different things, and a friend came to me and said, "Why don't we do a TV show and learn and talk about all the things we're learning?" We couldn't do TV, but we could do radio. Now, I had a choice at that particular moment. I could have said, "No, Mark, we're not going to do radio. It's going to cost $100 an hour and stuff, and it's not. I don't want to do that." If I'd said that, you would not be sitting here talking to me today, 22 years later. But I said yes, and that led to another yes, which led to another yes, and it ended up in 20 years with all the things, all the episodes that we have, and all that kind of stuff. So. Because I really wanted to do it, and if you're passionate about something, just what is it? Yeah, Nike that says just do
Just
it.
Nike swish, right? Just do it. Just do something, right? Work towards it. I'll add to that. Even with writing the book, I realized one day, because I sat on it for a couple months, nothing happened with it. Then I realized, look, it's not going to write itself. If you want to get to the finish line, no one's going to get you there except for you. So you have to do the work. You have to put the work into it, but you also get something out of it, 100%.
Yeah, I had another author tell me, because I said, a 250, 300-page book, that's what she was working on. And that's a lot. And she said, well, if you write every day and you write 300 words a day, and which is about one page, in a year, you'll have a 300-page book.
Yeah. Yeah. Look back on how you were a year ago. Could you have done that a year ago? And you'll be done today, right?
Exactly. So and that's a beautiful thing about being a human being. We, in this day and age, a lot of us have the freedom to be able to do such things.
Yeah.
And I hope people will take advantage of it. Andy Dietrich is here. andysbook.com, correct?
That's right. Thank you, Kevin, again.
And go there, and again, in case you're just joining us, where the hell have you been if you're just joining us? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, and thank you so much, Andy, for being here. I really I've had a really good time.
I did too, Kevin. Thank you for having me. I had a really good talk with you. This was good. I like this.
Good. I'm glad, because I hope everybody else is still, like, I don't know, listening. But anyway, Andy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon, everybody. If it's your weekend, have a great weekend. If it's your week, have a great week, and make it the life that you really want to have. You can do it. We all can. And why don't you write a book, for heaven's sakes? You got stories. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got. That's